Hi there. Do you ever notice that there are these pictures that are out in the world, and the pictures have little dots all over them? But if you look at the pictures long enough, you can determine that there's a letter or a word or a number hidden in that picture. They use these to test for color blindness, and they're pretty impressive. Like, if you can really tell a lot about somebody, whether or not they're colorblind by them looking at these pictures. I have to tell you, I find that many times people do that with their life too. They can't see the pattern that's hidden in all the noise. They just cannot see the pattern, and the pattern will continuously trip them up. Trip them up, trip them up, trip them up. I do it myself all day long. I have to watch it. I have people who watch my patterns and warn me, like, "Oh, you're not seeing this, but this is important." And obviously, I work with people where I help them find the patterns. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened a couple of weeks ago, so you'll see what I mean by patterns, or destructive patterns in our life. So I was talking to somebody, he called me and he was trying to start a business. He wanted to start a new business. During the conversation about that, I asked him why he wanted to start it. What was his purpose in it? What was his motivation? Um, During that explanation, he started talking about his current position as an employee. And he said he was mistreated. The place was chaotic. It was insane. He was ignored. He was not paid properly. He was ignored. He was disrespected. And in the middle of telling me that, he started also telling me a little bit about, and I've been going through that. And in the middle of all this, I broke up with my girlfriend, and he started telling me how she was crazy, how she, abused him by neglecting him, how she was rude to him, how she was crazy. And then he spiraled into another girlfriend and an ex wife. Without me saying a word, he just started telling me about all these other people. It was amazing, you guys, because you could see the thread. Like, I could clearly see that thread that was running through his life of people and experiences where he was treated poorly, where he was abused, where he was ignored, where he was really put out. So I said to him, I said, it's very interesting, but every woman that you've told me about has been crazy, and has been abusive and ignored you and all that. Were you looking for that type of woman? And and he's like, "Oh God, no." And I said, "Well, it's really interesting that you did keep finding them. And I have to tell you, you also use the same adjectives to describe your work. Have you had this happen in your work before?" And he started talking about, yes, he had. So here's this pattern that this man has been following his whole life, where he's looking for, inadvertently looking for, this drama and this chaos because he's comfortable in it. It's what he's used to, and it's what he's attracting because he assumes that's how the world works, no doubt. So we went back to talking about starting this new business, and I was really cautious because I genuinely think this man is going to start this new business, and now his clients are going to be crazy, uh, abusive. It's just gonna keep, the pattern's gonna keep going. So we were chatting about the business, and then he said, my mom was very abusive. She's cold, she's calculating, I'm in an argument with her right now because of her behavior. Now, ding, 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 his deal was he's trying to resolve an issue from a long, long time ago. It is obvious to anybody that talks to him. If you had that conversation, you would have heard that too. You would have heard it. And he's not going to solve it because it's hard to look at. It's really hard to look at. I don't think that he should start the business yet. I think that he should go work on himself and try to resolve that issue. And I told him that. I definitely told him that. So, all that being said, though, do you see how he had this little pattern that he was not even seeing that was causing him trouble over time? And he was trying to constantly get past it, get past it, get past it, but he couldn't. He was just recruiting more of it into his life. So, whenever you are feeling in a situation like he is, where you're feeling like, oh, I feel put upon, or I feel less than, or I feel like I'm hurt for some reason, think about why that is, or where you have felt that before. This is one way to quickly get to where does this pattern come from? If you felt that way before, what does this remind you of? And then go back to that. What does that remind you of? Where is that pattern showing up? Where on earth is that pattern showing up? It doesn't, it shows up normally in a case of us feeling less than, for sure. It also shows up sometimes when we're feeling really happy. I've had times where things have made me happy, and it just was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of whenever my stepfather did this, or whenever my blah 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 blah, that made me really happy. So look for the patterns. If you don't have somebody to help you look for the patterns, you should really consider like getting somebody who does, who's really a good listener and who's capable of helping you find the patterns in your life so you can correct it and come about life in a different angle. I hope that helps you today, and I hope that it gives you something to think about. Take care, and I'll see you soon.